Hi, everybody. This is Slim talking to you about the PhD process. So I just started mine last week, and I just wanted to give you the reason why we do this. Throw ourselves into a 4-year research project and just that dive in and that focus, because today I was working on something and I'd set up Google Scholar to send me things that match a couple of words. I chose androgyny, or genderqueer, and or literature, and or contemporary. And so Google Scholar has been sending me things every few days if something new pops up in their search engines. And today a new thing came in from this researcher in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand. And this is it. It's that sense of it's the hunt, it's the chase. And today I just found this thesis that this woman wrote. She's a psychologist, it's purely clinical, but it speaks so much to the experience of the non binary aspect and the cultural shifts around gender binary, gender queer, the glossaries, the studies she mentions. So much of what she says in her studies has got, as you can tell, has got me really excited. And I spent 2 hours reading her thesis, taking notes, finding the studies that she talked about, the people she mentioned, the references, the years. And some of them I've heard of. Leslie Feinberg, there's Judith Butler. There's a few things in there that I had already heard of, but she comes at it from the clinical psychologist aspect as a researcher, as opposed to me coming from the creative writing aspect. And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I found so much that validates what I'm doing. And she also talks about how there's so few studies about the genderqueer and the non-binary perspective. Since the 80s or so, at least in the West, there's been a lot more studies on the transgender movement and a lot more acceptance about that. But where do people like myself, what I call androgynous, is now generally called non-binary, where's the place for that? What's their experiences? Where do they find validation? How does mainstream culture accept them? How do they deal with it? And then from my angle, what I'll be adding onto this is, how do we write fiction from that perspective? And who is writing it? Who has been writing it, but is sort of under the not being seen, not being read? Who are the gatekeepers keeping people from telling these stories? And what happens when we do write from these perspectives of ours? And so that's my focus, but I needed all of this background stuff to place it within a literature creative writing process. So that is my exciting news from today. I would like to thank, I think her name is Carol Drinkwater from Auckland, New Zealand, for her paper and her thesis. And I read it and I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to get back to work. So there you go. That's why we do the PhD process. We're on a hunt. We're looking for validation. We're looking for things that feed into what we're studying, that help each other, that create this thrill. Okay, that's it. Bye.